Ecclesiastes, the 7th chapter. This is a book of the Bible that is not studied very often. But it's an interesting book. It's got a lot in there for us. One of the books of wisdom. Ecclesiastes chapter 7. When Solomon makes various statements in this book, sometimes we are surprised by the things that he says, because what he says oftentimes goes contrary to the way we think. And that's not surprising, because he's revealing to us the will of God, and God doesn't think the way man thinks oftentimes. And one of the things that he said is that it's better to go to the house of mourning than it is where? Nobody remembers. I know it's been 2 weeks, unbelievable. To the house of feasting. To the house of feasting. You can go to the house of feasting, or you go to the house of mourning. Now, if you were given a choice, would you rather go to the house of mourning, or would you rather go to the house of feasting? Which one would you choose? Now, be honest. Feasting. Yeah, I want to go eat. I want to have a good time. I want to laugh. I don't want to be thinking about dead stuff. Okay? But Solomon says it's better to go to the other than to go to the house of feasting. Okay? Because those individuals who are living, those individuals who are smart living individuals, they go there and they learn, don't they? They come to a better understanding about what's important in life. Notice what he says in Ecclesiastes 7 verse 4. The heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the heart of fools is in the house of mirth. Now remember, I just asked you the question, which one would you choose? Oh, give me feasting. Bunch of fools just went over there. Okay? And I bet you we didn't have one wise one, because the preacher shut the door behind them. Because for some reason, that's just what we desire. That's what we would select, wouldn't we? Unbelievable. Notice point 1 there, and I'm sorry the notes are messed up. I take my notes and I copy them from my type page to another. And sometimes in that process, they've been just going crazy when I switch them. And so I'm going to have to start all over and make some changes to get this thing right. But notice what he says. Where one spends his time manifests. That pretty strong word. Where we spend our time manifests our unbelievable. Who is in the house of mourning? The wise. Who is in the house of feasting and mirth and laughter? Fools. Where do you spend your time? Through the food, or you're what? A wise man. Unreal. Notice point, the next point there. Take 3 or 4 individuals with you to a graveyard. See how they act. Take 3 or 4 people with you to a graveyard. Get you some friends. Tell them you want to go visit somewhere, and all of a sudden you drive up. You think they're going to be serious? Most of the time they're going to be serious. They're going to go around, and what else are they going to do? They're going to read those gravestones, are they not? Some of them might be looking for their name. Oh, that might be a long. Some of them are going to look at the dates on those gravestones. And they're going to be figuring out how long or short of life these individuals live. And sometimes you'll see when you go something like this. Look at this. This one was only 6 months old. And look at her. Man, 104 years old. So I'm doing wrong something about life. Sometimes we like to read the Maybe it says something like this. He served in World War II. We learn a little bit about the characters. Now, you just ruined all, you probably lost most of your friends. You say you're going to go visit somewhere, you better grade, you lost them. They learned something. So next week, you call them up and say, they don't even want anything to do with you. But you call them and say, look, I know I took you to the graveyard last week. I'm sorry. I tell you what, I got some tickets to the football game. The Gators game's coming up. It cost me $5,000. Would you go? All of a sudden, these enemies become friends again. Right? And they get to the football game, and how do they act? Like fools. Don't they? They act like fools. That last point there, at a concert or ball game, we see fools acting like fools, don't we? Little is learned, but much is lost. Time, morality, learning, character, reputations, holiness. I've seen some of the best people in the world be complete idiots at a sporting event. Haven't you? I've seen individuals who are leaders in the church, who are coaches of ball teams, make fools of themselves coaching Little League. Cussing and yelling and screaming at little kids. And then go to church the next day, Miss Holy. I'm serious. And they think because they're on a ball field, they can act any way they want to. They just act like idiots. You know where those folks need to be taken? They need to be drugged through the graveyard a few times. They need to go to the house of mourning a few more times. They need to learn what life is really all about, don't they? I find it interesting that Solomon says, life isn't all about joy and happiness and being giddy and all that stuff. That's not where life is learned, folks. Life is learned where? Life is learned in the trenches, isn't it? Life is learned in the times of sorrow and hardship and difficulty. That's where true life is learned. And that's where the important parts of life is learned. That's what causes us to prepare, doesn't it? Now you're standing there and I'm 63, and I'm standing beside a grave of an individual who's 64. Man. I'm almost his age. And he's already under. That could be me. The heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the heart of fools is in the house of mirth. Second point he makes in this lesson this morning is this. It is better to hear the rebuke of the wise than for a man to hear the song of what? Of fools. Now again, I ask you, which would you rather do? Would you rather hear a beautiful song, or would you rather somebody take you aside and give you a good chastisement? Which one would you want? I guarantee you we're going to run for the song. Aren't we? Give me the tape. I'll pop it in right now. Who wants to be rebuked? And yet, Solomon says it is better to hear rebuke. I put on point A there. This is something we know to be true, but we would still rather not hear the song of a fool. Wouldn't we? I don't know of anybody who's ever enjoyed being rebuked. That little word rebuke means this, chiding, reproof. It's a pretty strong word in Scripture. Rebuke. Notice he says, it is better to hear the rebuke of the what? Of the wise. Are there negatives involved in the rebuke? I wrote down a few of them. Number one, it stings, doesn't it? Number two, it humbles you. Number three, it angers you. If it's done in front of several individuals, it might just embarrass you a little bit. Notice that last one. It causes a person to withdraw sometimes, doesn't it? I've seen individuals who they get rebuked through a sermon and they don't attend for a month. And you know, sweet, you got your feelings hurt. So you just can't attend and worship God anymore for another month. Unbelievable. They don't like rebuke. And yet Solomon says what? It is better to hear the rebuke of a wise person than to hear the song of fools. The positive of a rebuke. Corrections of wrongdoing. Isn't that usually why somebody gets rebuked? You're doing something wrong. You're doing something you shouldn't do. You're doing something to hurt yourself. And so what does the person do? He rebukes you, doesn't he? Or maybe this, growth. Rebukes make us grow. Yeah. Especially spiritually. I don't do that anymore. Or I start doing what I haven't been doing. You want to know one of the things that really concerns me about the church today? It's just lack of attendance. You know? And Wednesday nights are just no longer important to people. In many churches. You know that? It's always been about 60% fewer attend Wednesday than Sunday. But in many places today, it's starting to get less and less and less like that. And I don't know. You'd think that over the course of time and hearing all the sermons we hear, all the Bible classes we go to, we'd be growing, wouldn't we? And when I say that, I'm talking about as Christians, and I'm talking about that internally, spiritually. We'd be growing, and we would understand the importance of the church and the works of the church and being at church and participating in church and participating in the works of the church. And yet, that doesn't seem to happen. And sometimes we just need a good rebuke, don't we? And maybe a rebuke would help us and chasten us enough that we would change a little bit and do better. A rebuke can bring strength. Notice this last one. A rebuke can bring salvation. That's the important thing. Paul told Timothy, preach the word. Be instant in season, out of season. Reprove, rebuke, exhort. With all long suffering and doctrine. Yes, ma'am. Oh, yes. I believe that. You know, I'm just going to get. There's no fancy stuff with me. Okay, I could care less about me. Okay, over the last 2 years in this congregation on Wednesday nights, guess what we've been studying? If you don't know, you ain't been here, or you just are goofy. Okay, but if you've been here, you know what we've been studying. The book of Revelation, 22 chapters. It always interests me. It's this. If you were to ask a group of individuals, what do y'all want to study? What you want? Revelation. Everybody wants to study. Then you offer Revelation. Nobody shows up. What's the deal? We'll finish Revelation 2.5 years later. And all those who don't come, you'll hear somebody say, I sure do wish they studied Revelation down there. What are you talking about? We did study it. You missed it. Unbelievable. You know? We're just goofy people, aren't we? You know, that's why, you want to know, that's why the Lord calls us sheep. You know what? That's why He calls us sheep. Wow. Notice point 3 there. When a wise man rebukes us, we must resist the negatives of a rebuke. Getting angry, wanting to withdraw, getting embarrassed. You've got to resist all of that stuff because it's going to come. There's no doubt about that. Notice what I put down there. I said, this is difficult because they show themselves immediately, don't they? The very minute somebody calls me aside and rebukes me, guess what happens? Who is he? And we just get angry, don't we? That happens just like that. You know, it's almost like we didn't even think about it. We just get mad. The positives, on the other hand, might take a little time to show themselves, mightn't they? The growth, the strength, the ultimate salvation we have because we were rebuked and gave heed to it, all that may take a long period of time. I got to fight the negatives in order to let the positives of a rebuke root in my life and bear fruit. And that's not easy to do. I have several examples in Scripture of individuals giving a rebuke. We talked about David this morning in our lesson. Nathan rebuked David, did he not? Thou art the man. Man, I can't imagine how David felt. Can you? Exposed. He was ready to hang that other guy, wasn't he? Bring him to me. We'll take care of him. Well, you're he. Uh-oh. That ain't good. And remember, Paul says that when Peter was before him, he said, I withstood him to the face because he was what? He was to blame. So there was a time when old Paul rebuked Peter. Now, that's pretty bold. If you think the Roman Catholic Church is true and you think Peter was the first pope, you got another apostle rebuking the pope. You don't do that. But Peter was wrong, wasn't he? He had withdrawn from the Gentiles when the Jews showed themselves and didn't want to act like I'm in fellowship with Gentiles before Jews. And old Paul rebuked him to his face because he was to blame. But notice this next one, the Song of Fools. It's better to hear the rebuke, but we like the Song of Fools, don't we? I put down there, we have many songs that fall into this category of Song of Fools, don't we? They're immoral. Either the song is immoral or it promotes immorality. They're blasphemous. They're divisive. They speak evil of others. Sadly, there are many people who would rather hear the song of fools than receive a rebuke from a wise man, even though the songs do what? They benefit you nothing. Isn't that something? Next verse. I love this. For as the crackling of thorns under a pot. Can you hear them? I can. Who talks like that? You know? Who talks like that? Or you just never been out camping and experienced some of this stuff, okay? For as the crackling of thorns under a pot, so is the laughter of the fool. This also is vanity. We used to take kids out, and as soon as we got to camp in the evening, first thing you did, you sent them into the woods for wood. Okay? And you always try to tell them, don't you cut any trees down. You pick up what? Dead wood. You know, you see a kid come back sometime with a live tree. You go, oh, you kidding me? You know? It wouldn't be live long. And sometimes that dead stuff has been there for a while, right? And sometimes some stuff has grown on that dead wood. And sometimes there's some thorns and other things on that dead wood where you put it in the pile, and guess what starts happening? Snap, crackle, pop. And no, it's not Rice Krispies. Okay? Thorns crackle and pop while they burn. Notice this next point. They burn extremely hot. They burn quickly. Notice that Solomon says the laughter of fools is much like what? Much like those thorns. They crackle and pop. Their laughter is intense. And soon their laughter is gone. I guess I should have put that in parentheses, this next statement. Sometimes the very thing laughed at is the thing that causes them to no longer laugh. Isn't that something? The use of drugs. All the druggies get together, we're having a great time, and one of them passes out and throws up on the floor. And everybody gets serious, don't they? Uh-oh, we done messed up. John's about dead down here. Sorry about that, John. Alcohol, same way, right? Oh, it's wonderful. You just giggle and laugh and cut up and have a great time until the next morning. You're sick as a dog and your head hurts. You don't want to get out of bed. You're about as productive as nothing. What good is that? Sometimes kids love speeding in a car, don't they? Everybody just laughing and giggling till you hit the lamppost. Then it's not fun anymore. Engaging in any risky behavior can end in hurt, arrest, or death, can it not? The question is this: how much laughter of fools was there at the foot of the cross of Calvary? A lot of darkness, too. A lot of darkness. Oh, yeah. Yep. Yep. That's the picture that Solomon wants you to see of the laughter of fools. It's intense, you know, it's hot, but it's over quickly, isn't it? And sometimes you wonder, why did it end so quickly? Well, the very thing that brought the laughter has now brought what? Has now brought the demise of the individual, and there's no more laughter. Solomon teaches us that the laughter of fools is vanity. This also is vanity. You see commercials and stuff, you know, who was it? Was it Bush who used to have all the guys on the mountain top? And in front of the mirror. Well, I am looking at you. You could tell me. He'll tell me after. I knew the answer to that, but I wouldn't. Don't look at me in the class. I think it was Bush. They're up on that mountain, 4 or 5 guys around the campfire, and they drink. Doesn't get any water. Better than this. The laughter of fools is vanity. It does not provide lasting joy. Note point number 2. It does not benefit the spiritual man at all. Number 3. The laughter is sometimes turned into sorrow and regret. The laughter of fools is what? Vanity. What is Solomon trying to get us to do in this section? Not act like a fool. But how do you do that? Yes. To realize what's important and order your priorities around what's important. Okay? And that's hard to do, isn't it? Because some of the things that benefit us the most are the very things we don't want to do. I'll go to a wedding, but I won't go to a funeral. And there's reasons for that, isn't there? Ecclesiastes 7:7. This is a long one. I've got quite a few notes on this verse. Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad, and a gift destroyeth the heart. Has Solomon ever in this book talked about positions of leadership? He's talked about leadership positions before. Solomon's mind is just so full notice what he says. Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad. The first statement addresses those who are wise men when they enter into their positions of power. When we think of wise men being in positions of leadership, what constitutes a wise man as far as our world is concerned? Okay? Usually one is that they're educated, aren't they? Okay? You don't get to be CEOs and you don't get to be in these powerful positions unless you're well educated. That doesn't mean you've got the education. It just means that you've been educated as far as paper is concerned. But usually you're well educated. Usually a leader has a lot of experience, right, in the things that they're supposed to be involved in. I find it interesting that the church is known as the family of God, right? And so when God gives the qualifications of an elder, you want to know where many of those qualifications come from? From the physical family of the man who's going to be the elder. You want to know why? Because he can take those qualifications and those experiences and those qualities and now put them where? Into the family of God. And so it's an easy transition, is it not? And so you want a man to be a person who's gone through some struggles, difficulties, has the experience to be a leader. Notice they've been served. Sometimes they're appointed because they've been in very important fields, have they not? Medical field, the educational field. Maybe they served in the military. Those are individuals who get installed in some pretty high positions oftentimes. It'd be interesting to go and just see what some of the senators before, their education and the positions they came from. Okay? They're lawyers, they're doctors, aren't they? They graduated from prestigious schools. Many of them have served in the military in times past. Those are the kind of individuals that we look at, and they're wise individuals. But notice what Solomon says. When they begin to rule, they start to do what? Oppress men. They begin to, surely oppression maketh a wise man what? Mad. Here's a man you thought was the ideal leader. Right? He's got education, he's got experience, he's been in all of these activities, he's the perfect man. So you put him in. And what does he begin to do? Misuse his position. He begins to oppress those individuals that are under him. And individuals start saying, that guy's what? That guy's crazy. That guy's mad. Unbelievable, isn't it? Solomon tells us that this oppression makes a wise man mad. The little word mad means this: one who makes the show, one who is foolish. Oppression makes a wise man look like a who? Look like a fool. We thought he was the perfect person for the job, and now look at him. Wow. It's kind of scary, isn't it? Instead of leading by example and with a servant's heart, he oppresses those under him. His words, his behavior, his methods, and the intimidation he uses to control others causes him to look like a madman. Anybody ever served under a person like that? You may have seen people, that were in your workplace, and they worked right alongside of you, and you thought, boy, this person would be fantastic as a manager. And they get to be a manager, and they ain't that fantastic, are they? And you're going, I don't know what we were thinking. This person's nuts. Because they do what? The position goes to their head, and they begin to rule with what? With a rod of iron, and oppress those that are under them. There were two examples that are found in Scripture. One of them is Pharaoh. Children of Israel came into the land of Egypt, did they not? and they got placed in the land of Goshen. And the Bible says that there were 70 of them that entered in to the land of Egypt. How long were they there? Anybody remember? 430 years. Now, if they're doing what they're supposed to do, they have a lot of children, aren't they? Over 430 years, can you increase 70 quite a few times? Oh, yeah. They like big families back then, didn't they? Jacob had 12 sons. There's 12 sons, not including the girl. That's a lot of kids. Maybe increased to be about 2 million in population. Got a lot of people in Egypt now. Oh, yes. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. They had increased tremendously to such a size that Pharaoh, he's concerned, isn't he? Come on, let us deal wisely with them. What he should have said is, let us deal foolishly with them. Lest they multiply. And it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us. And so get them up out of the land. Therefore they set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. Wow. Could he have befriended Israel? Oh, yes. Could he have made some agreements and arrangements and covenants with Israel that would have made them a good people to work with? And could they have been his ally? Oh, yes. But not Pharaoh. I'm just going to afflict you.
You treat people good and you get a lot more done.
You hope so, don't you? Normally that's the case. Notice Rehoboam. Who is Rehoboam? Anybody know? Son of who? Son of Solomon, Rehoboam. Yes, Solomon dies as the king. He's the third king in the United Kingdom, of Israel. And he has this son by the name of Rehoboam. And Rehoboam is now in power. And remember, Solomon lived in a time of great peace, didn't he? And Solomon also lived in a time of great prosperity. And in order for Solomon to have all of those funds, there had to be a lot of what? A lot of taxes, right? A lot of payments. So Solomon finally dies. Rehoboam takes the throne. And the 10 tribes of Israel gather together, and they come to Rehoboam. They say, Hey, Rehoboam, we want you to be our king. We're glad you are king. We ask one favor. Just reduce the taxation and make our lives a little bit easier than your gain. And we'll serve you. Man. And the king answered the people roughly, forsook the old men's counsel that they gave him, and spake to them after the counsel of the young men, saying, My father made your yoke heavy, and I will add to your yoke. My father also chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with. There you go. That's a sweetheart. But just think, they told him, we will serve you. They told him that. And yet, he chooses to do what? He chooses that like a madman, doesn't he? And he oppresses the people. It was Rehoboam who ripped the nation of Israel asunder. From now on, there would be a northern kingdom and a southern kingdom. And guess what? There was a man sitting on the sidelines, by the name of Jeroboam, who is ready to take over. Unbelievable. We don't have time to get into that next point. We don't talk about this very often. But it addresses rivalry. A gift destroyeth the heart. A gift destroyeth the heart. Here's what I want you to do. I've got it in the notes, but don't look at the notes. I just told you what not to do. That's the thing to do.
they're not, they're falling